Hi there, I'm Colin. In this video I'm going to show you how to route curved organic looking profiles into timber, which you can use as a design feature in your next project without the use of a CNC. Well, almost without the use of a CNC. Let's see what I mean by that. This example is based on a simple design I made using some leftover 9mm marine plywood. The original design had a top with no routed features, and since I had one more small square piece lying around, it was ideal to experiment with for this routing process. To create the shape, I first designed and printed a random curvy model. I used Shaper 3D and then simply played around with some circle geometry until I came up with something I liked. The slot is 15mm wide so that I can use a 1/2 inch router bit. The process is fairly simple. Screw the model down to a board to make the template. Drill some holes to remove most of the waste, and then use a flush trim bit to route the profile. Remove the model and you're left with a template which you can use over and over. Then place the template on your workpiece, and using a starting hole for the router bit, route out the profile. This material cuts quite easily, and the edges only need a light sand. Having a very sharp router bit helps a lot with this, so try and use a sharp one, otherwise you'll end up with rather frayed edges. Then flip the workpiece around to locate the next profile. Here I'm drilling out some holes and then also using a jigsaw to remove some more of the waste. This also has the effect of showing me where the router path is, which takes the guesswork out of knowing which way the router curve is heading. And once again, route out the profile. It's important to ensure the workpiece and template are firmly clamped. You don't want any slippage, otherwise the pattern is ruined. I'm using the same 3D printed drilling guide which I used on the other tables, which will match up the screw inserts in the legs. Repeat this for all corners. Then, using my radius corner template, I'll round all 4 corners of the tabletop. Then countersink all the holes for the exposed fasteners. Next, some light sanding, and yes, sometimes you do need to change the dust bag. Sanding is simple. I'm only giving it a light 180 on the surfaces because it was actually very smooth to begin with. On the edges, I used 120 and then 180. I'm not being too fussy because it's only experimental. The inside of the profile isn't too bad, but I'll clean it with some sandpaper wrapped around this drill bit. This kind of works, but to get a better result, a tiny flap wheel would be better. In the previous video, I pointed out that this material isn't always the flattest of plywoods, and you can see here that it's got a bit of a bend in it. But I was keen to use it up, rather than waste it, or have it kicking around the workshop. To give it a quick finish, I'm using this hard wax, which is easy to apply and actually brings up a nice sheen really quickly. It works particularly well on the end grain of this rather ordinary plywood. It's not the nicest looking plywood in cross-section, but the wax does a lot to improve the appearance. Even the top develops a really nice sheen. Then it's just a matter of attaching the legs to achieve the finished product. Overall, I think this adds an interesting way to extend a simple design concept. There's loads of room to experiment, as there are endless shapes to create for adding that extra design element to your project. And in this case, I've turned an unloved piece of spare plywood into something that's both stylish and practical. I reckon I'll get good use out of it. So would I use this concept again in another project? Yes, I would. I think there's a lot of room to experiment with creating random shapes or organic profiles with your 3D printer and a router to create interesting design features in a piece of furniture. A simple piece of furniture, just like this one. So if you've got value out of that, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.